Kindly take the seats. Namaste, good morning, distinguished guests, respected dignitaries, scholars, practitioners, and valued participants, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again after the engaging technical parallel sessions and tea. I'm Sheetal Mokhtan, Director of Studies at NASC, the MC of the event. We are at the 6th South Asian Conference on Public Policy and Governance, Resilience and Renewal, Re-envisioning Governance through Youth Engagement, Digital Transformation, and Cultural Narratives in South Asia. We now move to the closing panel discussion on towards ethical governance, public value, trust, and commitment. This session brings together distinguished experts to reflect on the ethical foundations of governance and the importance of trust and public value in shaping effective institutions. We are honored to invite the session chair for this panel, Dr. Surya Raj Acharya, Registrar of the University of Nepal. Our panelists for today, Ms. Shabnam Sivakoti, Joint Secretary, Government of Nepal, Mr. Haribhakta Sharma, Managing Director, Deorali Janta Pharmaceuticals. The session will be moderated by Ms. Achala Dahal, Senior Director of Studies at Nepal Administrative Staff College. I now invite her to introduce the session chair, our panelists, and moderate the panel discussion. Thank you. Please give them a big round of applause.
Good morning. I welcome all of you to this final panel called Towards Ethical Governance, Public Value, Trust and Commitment. I think we have a very fantastic yesterday where we have ended our discussion about public voice. So I think that was very rapid fire sessions. So we will begin today's sessions with the end note that we had left on yesterday. We talked so much about legitimacy yesterday, so we'll be continuing with that thought today also. So for today's discussions, as Sheetal ma'am has already said, we had our session chair, who is Dr. Surya Raj Acharya sir. He is registered at University of Nepal and also a leading public intellectuals. He is an infrastructure policy and transport planning expert with a PhD from University of Tokyo, and who has worked with Government of Nepal, UNESCAP, and international research centers, and is widely recognized for shaping public discourse through his research, writings, and media contributions. We warmly welcome you to the session, sir. Next, we have Haribhakta Sharma, sir, a renowned entrepreneur, Managing Director and Business Leader at Deorali Janta Pharmaceuticals. He is a prominent Nepali entrepreneur and business leader, best known as Managing Director, and he is a strong advocate for private sector development, industrial growth, and self-reliance in Nepal's economy. Actively engaged in public associations, he has contributed to policy dialogues and reforms aimed at improving the investment climate and fostering entrepreneurship in the country. We welcome you to the panel, sir. Next, we have our respected Shabnam Sivakoti ma'am. She is Joint Secretary, currently at Ministry of Agriculture. She is in public service for over 25 years and have an extensive experience in agricultural policy, food security, and public sector leadership. She has represented Nepal in regional and international platforms and works on advancing digital agriculture and sustainable food systems in Nepal. So moving forward, we have a very diverse panel from bureaucracy, from academia, and from private sectors also. So I look forward to have a very interesting discussions about in this today. So I'll have a quick note on what we are going to discuss, then we'll move on with panelists and with permission from our respected chair. So since the theme is about towards ethical governance, I'll open up about a few discussions, a topic to discuss on ethical governance. As my immediate discussion with my chair also, he has said like talking too much in a normative frame doesn't work. So we need to have a practical discussions on these themes, and I surely take that, sir, in today's discussion. So when I discuss about ethical governance today, I'll take four thing at mind when I discuss the whole regime. The one is I'll be discussing about trust as a symptom. One is ethics as a cause, and public value as a proof, and legitimacy as the outcomes, like we have discussed yesterday. And also, while discussing ethical governance, here I means more than the absence of corruptions, I mean the use of public power in a way that are fair, transparent, accountable, and oriented towards public goods. In that sense, ethical governance is very important because it makes institutions credible, strengthen trust, and support legitimacy. So my take here is about, so when we talk about legitimacy, it can be talked like why legitimacy matters. My discussions here is, so when we talk about legitimacy, let's talk about political legitimacy. And I take the word from Rustens. He talks about political legitimacy depends at least as much on quality of government as on electoral systems. So it is, when we talk about political legitimacy, it's more about quality of government. It's more about what we promise. It's more about how we frame. So it's not about how it is delivered, or it is not more about how it is felt. It's more about the normative framing of policies so that it will have the better public value, delivered public value. So when we talk about legitimacy, we have another frame also where we talk about legitimacy from administrative perspective. So for administrative perspective, I take the word of Murray, who talk about public value and strategic triangle in three strategic triangle, where he said public value or public manager creates value not only with three conditions. That is, one is how they are aligned with their ecology to create public value. Second is their operational capacity. And third is like legitimacy or support from authorizing environment that is available around there, so that they can be an instrument to deliver the political legitimacy, or they can be the instrument to deliver what is being promised in public service delivery. So this is the second talk of legitimacy. The third, I want to put my ideas on about trustworthy government, which is mostly discussed by Professor Levy. She said like, trust grows when institutions are accountable, predictable, and reciprocally fair. So here I want to preach, it's like, are these policies and practices are reconciled or not? What is the status of, or what is the scenario of this legitimacy? That because when we talk about legitimacy, it's about, has public failed the promises that has been made by political legitimacy or administrative legitimacy or not? It's like, for example, we have a policy, since we are in training institutions, about training for all, that has been promised. But are the stakeholders who is related or who is the users of those have experienced, they have fair and equal opportunities through that policies or not? Are there the structures, standing structures that align or that is suitable for implementing those policies, and have their stakeholders actually felt that this policy is reachable, impartial, and it is fair or not? So that is what the legitimacy talks about, how you feel. I think we all have been going through one of the notions or one of the meme that has been on social media very recently about when there was an election, if there is, that was very much loud. So when we discuss about legitimacy, we call like, yes, everything is in place, but why it is not there? Why people is arising questions on all these things? Discrimination छैन भन्ने हो भने, अथवा there is impartiality छैन भन्ने हो भने, fairness छ भने, खै त, are we feeling that or not? Is it in practice or not? हामीले त्यसलाई अनुभूति गर्छौँ कि गर्दैनौँ? So as trust is the result of everything, so do we trust or not? Do we fail that trust or not is the major questions when we talk about legitimacy here. So let me sum up with one question, one thing only before I move on to the chair. So since trust is the visible test of legitimacies, and it is all around the world also. If you see researches, like if you see the recent research of OECD about this public institutions about global trust indicators, they said like around in 34 countries around the globe also, only 39% of the people say like they are highly and moderately high trust in national government, and then 41% of the people believe that government uses best available resources, and 37% believe that government balance present and future interest of the people. So here we can see like where is the level of trust? Is trust getting eroded in overall globe? Or if you see the context of Nepal also, from the Nepal National Governance Service that Staff College has done in 2017 till the recent publication of trust survey, or say like people survey that was conducted by Asia Foundation in 2022, it says like the trust is very uneven to the different government institutions or different institutions in Nepal. If you see, I said an example, people say that they have very much, 90% and above people trust Nepal Army, public service commissions, 89% people say they trust public service commissions, but only 44% says they trust political parties and institutions, and 52% says they trust political government. So here we can say it's like trust is there, but trust is uneven. Trust is uneven between different institutions or different public institutions or different institutions that is around Nepal. So I can conclude my discussions about trust here is like the trust is, global evidence says trust is fragile, but in Nepal pattern it shows like trust is absent, not absent, but it's uneven with different institutions. So we need to discuss about how we have to regain those trust with all this. So one more arguments I want to put for today's discussions is more about, so what weakens ethical governance then? Yes, there is a risk. So what weakens ethical governance? The first that comes to our mind is corruption. So let me discuss, that's a lot of debate on corruption, but I will take one reference only here. It's trust. Corruption here is more than money. Corruption here is more than individual interest. I take support from the writer Sudhir Ranjan from the book Social Theory of Corruptions, where he has said it's like corruption is in a much deeper way, where he says like it is not just about bribery or individual misconduct. Trust is more about how institutions and social order can be shaped by elite interest in which has weakened the public purpose. That is why corruption matters much, but that it is not only violations of rules, but it is about the threat to public value, trust, and legitimacy. So here he says like, when we talk about corruption, I again take that legitimacy thing. We believe in zero tolerance, but do we feel zero tolerance or not? We have a lot of institutions, oversighting agencies, which look over to have this correction, or we say like for controlling corruptions. But have we failed? The event of corruptions has been decreased or not? Have we failed that? Have we failed as in public? Have we failed that safe space or not? So that is the fundamental questions right there when we discuss about corruptions. And again, when we talk about what weakens ethical governance, there is like the opacity, or let me say the weak follow-up systems also has weakened the corruptions. If I take an example of recent publication from Auditor General's, their annual report, they says like there is unsettled account of around more than 733 billions. So that is unsettled. But my stake here is like, The arrears is there, but do we have the follow-up systems strong enough to resolve the arrears or not? So our follow-up system is more weak. It's like there is policies in place, but in practice, has it been practiced so that this arrears is decreasing each year or not? So we can see from this perspective. And when we talk about corruption or what weakens ethical governance, I will take one more argument. It's like it's more about elite capture, or say like I have already share you about the earlier corruptions from the book context. It's like corruption is a more institutional thing. Here, it's more about elite captures, which can, or a conflict of interest also, which I think I will take support from the recent research that was conducted on cooperative crisis 2022-23. They say like, it is more about cooperative crisis was more exposed allegations of political nexus, delayed justice, and they have a very weak protections for depositors who are the real owner of the cooperatives. So it's like, so how the political legitimacy, how the administrative culture has been shaped ethical governance. So how it is moving? So have the public value or the public trust been entrusted with all this or not is the major questions. I think when we talk about ethical governance, towards ethical governance, we need to discuss about all these things. So, so I put in context for today's discussions. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Dayal, for very eloquently setting the stage. So, in this panel, we have a very distinguished panelist on my right-hand side and left-hand side, from very senior executives from Nepali business sector, not only senior, very successful entrepreneurs, Haribhaktaji, and Ms. Vakoti from the senior government official. So, before I invite our distinguished panelists to make a comment, let me just, from the chair, let me elaborate some of the concepts. First, I am in fact very much honored to chair this session. The theme is the ethical governance. So this topic is, of course, it's a politically very important, practically very important. Also, it's academically very important. For a country like academically is often, in developing countries, we often moralize it. They're moralizing the ethics and not operationalizing it. Whereas the ethics is it's either very multiple academic dimensions that. So can you hear me? So by training, I'm an engineer. So engineer's habit is to look at the real thing in the concrete term. So it's good in the political level, in ideological level, in philosophical level. Ethics is a moral. That's fine. But however, in the real world, the ethics need to be institutionalized or operationalized, so that you put incentive structure in such a way that even the very self-interested private sectors, their behavior, turn to be ethical from the social perspective. So often in developing countries, we looked at the implementation level, the corruption or the breach of ethics, a lot of problems, but we often fail to translate those problems into this policy framework or the incentive structures. So in today's sessions also, as Mr. Dayal put it very correctly, there's the legitimacy, then the trust. The legitimacy, it comes from the legal. First stage is constitutional or the legal legitimacy. It's a necessary condition, but not sufficient condition. To sustain the legitimacy, it need to be supported by the public trust. Okay, this trust can be generated in so many ways. It's currently in the immediate short term, the trust can be generated from this psychological, perception or psychology. But in the long run, the trust must be supported by delivery or the impact or that. So the key point is to sustain legitimacy, to have this impactful trust and minimize the risk. Because there is a breach of trust, there is a breach of ethics. That's the real world is that. So to minimize the risk, we need to have a very robust institutional system, the incentive structures that. And that can be, we can rely on that is some theoretical analysis, learning from other countries, learning from our own histories also. And finally, that translates into the reform, this workable reform. So in that context, before I open the floor, my request to our distinguished panelists is, let's focus more on the operational this, that. Of course, in this ideally moralistic ethics, we all appreciate it and we need it, that. But how to operationalize this ethical government, how to sustain it in the long run, and both experience from the private sectors, that some of the private sector's experience would be very important to translate those lessons into the policy framework from the public sectors, that. And also the public sector expectation and aspiration that provides some kind of the signaling to the private sectors. That how, because the public sector is ultimately, it's a defined this social welfare functions or the social aspiration in the long run. And the private sector must align with this social expectation or the government or the public policy experts. So with that spirit, what I would like to expect in this discussion is, let's focus on how to operationalize this ethical governance, that what is the incentive structures that often this economist put it, the very robust theoretical background in the economics offers this, but they call it asymmetric informations, the moral hazard, that these adverse selections, and there is established literatures on that. That helps in building institution, in putting the right incentive structures. If our incentive structure is wrong, if we have a contract, not complete contract with the contractor or that, a contractor will always see the loophole to maximize the profit. There's a private sector, very smart entrepreneur. We cannot expect Mr. Sharma to pay the maximum taxation, whereas our law allow him to minimize taxation. So to minimize taxation is one go dharma ho. That is his duty. So our public sector, we should not blame a private sector that, look, this company or that, they are evading taxes or not. We need to have a right kind of this contract, the law, regulation, and the incentive structure, so that profit maximizing, self-interest driven entrepreneur behavior would be ethical. So that should be the, what you call the balance between public sector expectations and private sectors, this operation of the contract. So with this, I hand over to Mr. Dal to moderate the session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So I go on with panelists. So I'll first start with Haribhakta Sarma, sir. So as Sarah said, so what do you think about, it's like, how can you operationalize all these things like ethical governance as a role of private sectors, how do you see, what is your role to support in operationalizing the ethical governance in today's context, sir?
Thank you. Thank you. I believe that most of the things had already been shared by both Achal